All right, let's find out, everyone. It's time for our second semifinal. Sam Pardee needs an opponent, and we're about to give him one. Take it away, Cedric and Corey.
Let's help find Sam that opponent for our finals of Pro Tour and Modern Horizons 3. Cedric Phillips, Corey Baumeister, our last match of the weekend, but it should be a doozy. Bant Nadu against four-color Nadu. Sam eagerly awaits, but Corey, which one do you think he would prefer to play against? The more traditional build or the splash for the Bowmasters?
I would think the traditional. You know, Daniel has a good record so far against other Bant Nadu decks. There's not a lot of differences, but maybe the Bowmaster kind of is the key for the reasons that Frank was pointing out here in the Open.
Well, you do see Daniel Goetschel there, the Canadian player who is starting to build that resume a little bit now with this top finish here in Amsterdam. For Simon Nielsen, as Maria did mention, of his last 6 top-level events, he has top-aided 5 of them. It has been an incredible run for the 2023 Player of the Year. And it's a pretty darn good start, too, with a copy of Urza's Saga. On the other side of things, Daniel Goetschel is going to kick things off here in our semifinals with an Overgrown Tomb and a Delighted Halfling. Well, that's not a play you see every day, huh?
Yeah, definitely don't see that all the time, but it makes a lot of sense to do something like that when there is the possibility of Orcish Bowmaster.
Sure, so Springheart Nantuko, the Bestow is actually on the Delighted Halfling. So there you go. Stranger things, as they do say. Here's a Wall of Roots there for Goetschel. The follow-up is a Verdant Catacombs. And now a counter will be placed on the wall. Here is a Shuko.
And at least Yavimaya and another card in hand. Looking for something like Court of Calling, Summoner's Pact to have it all wrapped up already. These matches, you know, there is definitely games where they go a little bit long, but wow, can these mirror matches just be explosive and extremely fast?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how long this one will go here, as Simon is already starting to put the pieces together. Urza Saga found a copy of Shuko. Remember, there's a colorless mana floating. And now, because lands are in the battlefield, remember, it's the Springheart Nantuko that is on the Delighted Halfling. It actually belongs to Simon, so generating a couple of insects. And now this is a copy of Hallowed Fountain.
Yep. And I mean, there's really only one reason to play Urza Saga on turn 1 is because, well, you have it wrapped up on turn 3 already.
Well,
and it really does look like it.
Okay, well, Shuko, Halfling, and friends. So this looks like there may be a response here from Daniel. But here is Shuko, and there's, of course, the mana floating, so the table judge is making sure that this is a legal play, which it very much is. And now Daniel is going to sacrifice that fetch land, go get a Watery Grave, so perhaps a piece of interaction is on the way. But man, what a start here from Simon Nielsen, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely. And the piece of interaction might be Bowmaster down one of the people.
Well,
that isn't that exciting, I must say.
Well, it does at least limit the number of activations.
That's true.
I'm with you that it's not the most exciting of plays, but it is better than nothing. So looks like Bowmasters will be shooting down one of those insect tokens. So first one here on the line will be an insect token. I think we'll get out our little humdinger there. So number 1 is a Delighted Halfling. Number 2 is a Nadu. Okay.
So here is the cost to bestowing this. You know, there's, of course, a lot of benefits as it doesn't get Bowmaster down, but it is 2 less activations. But a fetch land here looks quite good as you're getting a token from each of the fetches. You can also get Dryad Arbor, so that's 6 activations, plus Court of Callings. I think that's all she wrote here for game number 1.
I think you are right. We will go through the motions now with Simon, as the forest is the reveal. Insect tokens, well, that's the deal. Might just be a concession here from Daniel, and it absolutely is. So Simon Nielsen's going to win game number 1 here very, very quickly over Daniel Goetschel. It's Bant Nadu up a game here over the 4-color version.
Yep, absolutely. And we're going to game 2 here, and with best of 5, players won't begin the sideboarding until next game. So we're going to see exactly the same configurations for both of these players for this one.
It's another nice start here for Daniel with a Pendlehaven to enable the Delighted Halfling. And there's a Saga there from Simon. We saw him start off the last game with that very powerful land. Now Daniel's off to the races here this time around. Springheart Nantuko into a fetch land will yield 2 insects here. One from the fetch land being played. Second for what it does search up, and we'll see what the follow-up play is, if there is any.
Yeah, could be another lightning fast game here. Whichever player in these pre-boarded games is on the play, and if you can kind of do the thing on turn 3, not much can be done. There is some kind of corner cases where you can just draw the one of Haywire Might in the main decks, and you're able to interact with a Shuko, those kind of things. But for the most part, if you have the draw that assembles Nadu and Shuko on the play on turn 3, you're probably getting it done.
The fetch land found a Temple Guard, and that'll enter the battlefield untapped, of course. So that'll allow the Delighted Halfling in exchange for a couple of points of life here for Daniel. So it's a very explosive start with plenty of mana and plenty of creatures on the battlefield for the Canadian.
Okay, and trying to do a Haywire Might check for Simon. Simon does play 2 of those in the main deck. We saw how good that card was for Eli Cassis in an earlier round. We'll see if Simon was able to find one of those pieces of interaction.
Yeah, that Artifact Insect has been very, very good for players playing it here this weekend. Does a lot of nice interacting in this matchup around Shuko, among other things. The Urza Saga, don't forget, is up to 2 counters now, as Simon does dig out a basic forest off of the Windswept Heath, though 19-17 in favor of our 2023 Player of the Year, who will now deploy a Wall of Roots. And it's going to be a counter on there to allow this Delighted Halfling to appear. So, Corey, very much in these pre-sideboard games, it just kind of feels like a race. And I think the race might just be over.
I think so, too.
Cool.
Just close, interactive games here for the pre-sideboarded games, huh?
That's a race. So, in case you're wondering what's going on, if you're just joining us right now, that'll be a Verdant Catacombs that comes down. That'll trigger the landfall there on the Springheart Nantuko. That'll yield an Insect token. Summoner's Pact is going to yield a Nadu, which is very easy to cast off of those Delighted Halflings, or perhaps the Verdant Catacombs searches for a blue source. We'll have to see. After that, Court of Calling can find the Outriders on core, because there's not a Shuko on this board, and that would presumably take care of things. So that's why you saw Daniel put the hand face up very quickly. So here comes Nadu. It just needs an enabler. So next up is sacrificing the Verdant Catacombs. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a Dryad Arbor here, but we'll see exactly what Daniel does want to search for, and it will just be a basic forest.
Yeah, I think dealer's choice on that. All you need to do is just make sure you have enough creatures to cord for 3, and then the combination is on. Just shows the power of this deck with the fact that you don't have to find a way to find the artifact. The Encore really enables just so many draws to win the game here.
And there is the Outriders Encore. So this will be targeting stuff and things, and the game is over. Very quick pre-sideboarded games. We're all tied up here between Daniel and Simon. So to the sideboards they will go, and they have found some configurations that they are happy enough with. So Simon will be on the play. Daniel will be on the draw. And we will see exactly how this one does go. As you see, Simon is down to 6 cards to start this game, while Daniel has the requisite 7. Temple Garden and Overgrown Tomb of the lands here for the players. Delighted Halflings, of course, mirroring one another.
Yeah, and most of the time, I'll definitely say most, because we'll see exactly what happens and see if the games are as fast as we just saw. Games usually do slow down a bit in this mirror match, as there's some interaction that comes into play a little bit. But we see that Shuko there, or Nantuko, excuse me. Plus, I saw Court of Calling in hand, so we have at least Nadu ready to go for Simon, but no ability to start targeting it for free.
Okay. The Springheart Nantuko is bestowed on the Wall of Roots. You've seen Simon thus far in this match bestow this card twice. When you're playing against a version that does have access to Orcish Bowmasters, playing it on its own is a little bit too risky, so that's why you're seeing the bestowing take place here from Nielsen. A Yavimaya into a Delighted Halfling is Goetschel's second turn, so we're going to head back to the Player of the Year now, who is looking to take a 2-1 advantage in this match and maybe have another finals appearance on the resume.
Yep, absolutely. And a little bit of sideboarding information from these players to kind of get in the head of these decks if you want to be playing this deck at home. Simon decided to take out Bristly Bill, Spell Pierce, 2 copies of the One Ring for Dismember, Force of Vigor, Springheart Nantuko, and the Volatile Storm Drake. Well, Daniel decided to take out the Thassa's Oracle, maybe realizing halfway through the tournament that you just don't really need that one.
Yep.
as well as an Island, Dryad Arbor, Endurance, 2 Wall of Roots for a bunch of interaction as well, 2 Fatal Push, 1 Haywire Might, 2 Thoughtseize, and 1 of the Storm Drakes.
And this is why we expect the sideboard games to get a little bit longer. Players are bringing in pieces of removal and making it so they can interact with one another and try to at least stop the other from going off so quickly like we saw in the first 2 games. Orcish Bowmaster is going to join the fray along with the army token as we head back Daniel Goetschel's way for turn number 3.
Yeah, and normally that card is decent at getting some interaction if there is Noble Hierarchs or if you have certain cards that you can hit like the Spring Heart Nantuko. But Simon's done a great job of hiding that card every single game so far to not expose it to any removal like the Bowmaster.
Looks like Daniel may have a question here for our table judge. We will have to see. But as you take a look at the battlefields here, Daniel does have a decent chunk of mana with those 2 Delighted Halflings and a couple of lands. Bowmaster not picking anything off here in this game, so a little bit weaker version of the Orc Archer. While Simon has access to a Hallowed Fountain, a Temple Guard, a Misty Rainforest, Wall of Roots, and Delighted Halfling as far as mana is concerned. The Springheart Nantuko once again was bestowed on that Wall of Roots. And an Insect token, it looks like, was made there from Simon Nielsen as well. So it's an interesting start here for both players. You do wonder how much interaction they have for Corey because they are, again, boarding so much in.
Yep, exactly. And it looked like Simon did have 1 Court of Calling, so there is... that can either be interactive or if Daniel doesn't really show any signs of kind of comboing off right now, we don't see either of the combo pieces. If you see one of them, then you kind of got to be a little wary at end step of Court of Calling for Nadu if Simon doesn't have it all wrapped up. So, but if you don't see any combo pieces from Daniel, I think Simon's going to be plenty fine just cracking that fetch land, maybe making a copy of Wall of Roots, and then just playing Nadu out and then hoping to top deck a Shuko.
And for clarification, for those of you watching at home, that token that is on Simon's side of the battlefield is actually a Wall of Roots token from the landfall trigger and paying with a Hallowed Fountain and a Wall of Roots activation. So we're going to see a Misty Rainforest sacrifice now, and we'll see exactly what Simon does want to search for. Over the course of this event, it has been a lot of Surveil lands, and it is once again here, Corey, with a Hedge Maze.
We've seen a lot of copies in these decks. I think Dryad Arbor was probably my favorite so far, but Wall of Roots definitely a powerful copy here as well.
Urza's Saga is going to head to the graveyard, and now you see the paying there for another copy of Wall of Roots. So 3 total, 2 of which are copies here for Simon Nielsen. Again, mana is not going to be much of an issue, and we all know how well Court of Calling plays alongside these Wall of Roots.
And at first glance there, Simon is, of course, shuffling pretty quickly, but I see 2 Court of Callings and a Force of Vigor. So not only has the ability to interact if Shuko was the plan or Urza's Saga, but has the ability to Court of Calling for Nadu and Court of Calling for the other combo piece here, the Outrider and Core.
Well, speaking of Court of Calling, here it is for Daniel now. This is going to be for 3. That's going to resolve, and it's going to be a Nadu. I'm curious how Simon will play with his copies of
me
the Powerful
too.
Instant.
Mostly because if you want to fire off 1 now, you get the counters on Wall of Roots, then they kind of reset for next turn so you can be fully online once again. So it would make sense to me to do 1 now, 1 either in response to Daniel trying to combo off and maybe interact that way, or try to combo off yourself if you have enough to just do it right now, maybe.
Well, this is going to be a Court of Calling for 2.
Okay.
And this is the first time we've really seen this card. So
Yes.
finally, this is kind of the mirror tech.
It really is, because not only are you being proactive, you're also being defensive. This card really does it all in this mirror match. Got to be the best card. I mean, we saw it do some great work against Eli Cassis last round. Makes a lot of sense that this is kind of the go-to card in the post-board matchups from these players, and we might just be going off right now.
So it's time for Simon to play another copy of Court of Calling. This could be the Outriders, and it is. And I'll tell you, he did turn this game around in a hurry.
Yeah, well played. Nice timing here and nice patience from Simon. Had the ability to Court of Calling at the end step from Daniel, but didn't want to give anything away. And maybe Daniel really did just kind of play into it a bit. Okay, let me see your sideboard. Make sure you didn't do anything you shouldn't have done. And then Daniel will probably concede here. I think that is what these players are communicating.
Yeah, I think that may be the case. Daniel wants to get a good idea of what is in Simon's sideboard so that he knows exactly what's in Simon's main deck. So get a good look at that. Now, this is a question, of course, of are we done here? And it looks like we are. Simon Nielsen is going to win game number 2. He's one away from the finals here in Amsterdam, Corey.
Can you believe it? I mean, Simon Nielsen.
Yes, I can.
Yes, yeah. It's no longer unbelievable, right? It's just a right at this point that it's a top 7 plus Simon Nielsen.
I guess so.
Ooh, Urza Saga on 1. Once again, a pretty scary thing.
Well, Simon has no fear. I mean, I saw a little bit of a deep breath there, but I don't think there's any fear. He's all laughs. He's having a good time, as he always is. You can see Simon's hand right now. Multiple copies of Nadu, Winged Wisdom, Sylvan Safekeeper, Springheart Nantuko, and a Windswept Heath. While over here for Daniel was another good start as far as a mana accelerant is concerned. Temple Guarding, yielding that Delighted Halfling. You see a Court of Calling, Nadu itself, Springheart Nantuko. So it's all there for Daniel. It's just about deploying it in the right order.
Yeah, it's all there for Daniel. It's all there for Simon minus land 3. Land 3 is what you really need, and then Simon has the classic on the play turn 3 draw. Daniel, I like his position a little bit more, has the ability to interact in a defensive way with that Court of Calling, plus has it all wrapped up.
So Goetschel is going to play a Misty Rainforest. Guldakat, as he is so affectionately known on Magic Online, is going to fall down to 15 via the fetch land. Breeding Pool is the weapon of choice.
Yeah, always fun to watch the people who start as a Magic Online grinder make it to the biggest stage here Sunday at the Pro Tour.
Yeah, beware Bonk 101 online.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard some things.
He's coming.
I've heard some things. An upstart.
He's coming to a top 32 near you.
Yeah, there are worse places to be, as Nadu is on the battlefield now. So we're going to head back Nielsen's way, who would love a piece of interaction, as Urza Saga is going to tick up to 2.
Okay, I mean, there it is for turn 3. You have the land, but no interaction. Daniel's going to be able to pick this up, and wow, what a treat for all of us watching that we're getting so many game 5s here as this one looks to be over.
You better believe it. One more for the road, as they do say. A basic forest is what Simon will put into play. I think we might see a Springheart Nantuko here in just a moment. Now remember, the bestowing has generally been on... bestowing is the preferred play with the Nantuko.
Bestowing looks a little worse when your opponent has a Nadu and Simon doesn't know it's already wrapped up. I know this is shocking to you.
Yes.
Hide your shock and awe over here, Cedric. Yeah, I think you're just priced into just playing it here, or you just play the Sylvan Safekeeper. We'll see what Simon decides, but I think that's the riskiest play, is just imagine Daniel didn't have it all wrapped up, and then the Shuko is 2 cards down, and all of a sudden you just lost the game because you bestowed on your opponent's creature. I don't think it's worth the risk, but Simon, of course, is going to go through all the options, shake it off, and figure out his next plan.
Yeah, in the spot like this, in this combo mirror, I think it is play Springheart Nantuko. It's just how to play it. That's all, right? Because you've got Shuko coming next. You've got Shuko plus Nadu next turn.
Yeah.
Right. So it's actually just going to be the hard cast. Orcish Bowmasters could cause some trouble, but we know that Orcish Bowmaster don't matter. So you lose. You lose.
To the conveyor belt with you.
Trigger 1 is the Delighted Halfling. Let's see what comes next. Remember, no land drop has been made yet this turn here for Daniel. So Halfling is 1. Let's have some more fun. This is a Underground Mortuary.
So a slight fail rate here is possible.
It is indeed.
It's unlikely. You just need to be able to assemble Court of Calling for 2. to get the Nantuko, and we'll be all wrapped up. So a couple of lands here in these next 6 activations. You have the Delighted Halfling, which is face up. So you have that ability to just get a forest off that, have another 2 activation, and we've seen this song and dance here plenty of times this weekend, Cedric.
Boy, have we. So Daniel might need some of those mana counters. That's what he may be asking the floor judge about. Remember, again, has not played a land yet this turn, so the Overgrown Tomb in hand is an option alongside those Delighted Halflings and the Court of Calling that you did mention. Outrider and Core that you do see on the card displayer is actually already on the battlefield, but everything else is accurate enough. So this is going to be an Overgrown Tomb, and going to sacrifice that for the Catacombs here, World Daniel. And Daniel's going to go dig out a basic forest. There's already a Springheart Nantuko in hand, so can get that on the battlefield as well. And so here is the very powerful 1/1. And now it's just about hitting lands here. So let's put this on there.
The People Factory is here.
There is a people. Marsh Flats will yield 1. The second one soon enough. We'll see how long Simon wants to sit through this, hoping that Daniel does whiff. He's not. We're done. Game 5? Not yet. No, keep going. Sure.
Sideboard action.
Sure.
Show it.
If you don't mind, can I take a look at what you sideboarded out so I can get my information? So Simon will take a look here, see a Reclamation Sage to Shielded among the other things. Kudos to Simon. Played a lot of turns this game.
Yeah.
Really had a long think on whether to bestow that Springheart Nantuko or to play it. Came up with the right play of playing it, and then died.
Yeah, immediately. They always say every little decision matters here in Magic. Well, it's not totally true.
Yes.
Some of them don't,
That's
but
right.
you got to make sure that all of them matter in the time. Now, there is the Thassa's Oracle in the sideboard, so maybe Simon will be like, well, this is your win con in air quotes. Will you explain to me how you do it? Because, well, this is pretty much one of the only players playing Thassa's Oracle that made it in the top 8. So maybe the quote-unquote training wheels of the deck. Maybe Daniel just realized halfway through the event, maybe wasn't fully aware of the tech going into it, and was like, yeah, you're right. I don't need this. I keep siding it out every match.
Yeah. You are right indeed. Unnecessary, as now we are underway here in our 5th and final game. The winner moves on to play against Sam Pardee in the finals of Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3 here from Amsterdam. It looks like a mulligan to 5 here for Nielsen, who was going to keep the top card on top via the Selesnya Surveil land. Now he's going to get hit by the Thoughtseize. So Simon is not thrilled about the prospect of this. You see a Shuko, a Nadu, a Saga, and a Delighted Halfling.
Yeah, not pleased about this Thoughtseize, Cedric. I have a feeling he's not going to be too pleased about the second one that comes down here. I'll be very interested to see if Daniel wants to leave. Your kind of initial reaction is to leave the Nadu because you can Thoughtseize that next turn because there's no way that can come into the battlefield. But there is a big problem with that. If Simon were to top deck another Nadu, then you're like, well, I just left the best card in your hand, and now I can't take the other best card, and it could be a big bird dilemma.
Yeah, if you take a look at each card individually here, the Nadu is an easy place to start. Shuko, there's effectively 2 copies, one from the actual physical one, second from the Urza Saga, and then Delighted Halfling is the least scary probably of the bunch. So unsurprisingly, Nadu will be the selection. Remember that Simon kept the top card on top of the deck.
Yep.
And that was looks like a forest. Okay.
And it makes sense, and I think Daniel will be able to kind of think that out. What was Simon's hand really missing? And it was a land, to be able to cast the Nadu. I guess, you'd have the Delighted Halfling to cast it as well. So this Thoughtseize a lot of a brick.
We all know it's going to happen, right?
You're going to top deck the bird?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
What are we even talking about?
Yeah, he's the player of the year for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And here is why.
It's just not that hard. It's Noble Hierarch. That's a bummer.
It's next, right?
Look, it doesn't take much. There's 10 versions of the card in the deck, right? There's Summoner's Packs, there's Court of Callings, there's Nadu itself. This is the thing about the interaction is you bring in these Thoughtseizes, and the Thoughtseizes were good-ish, right? You took a bird out of the hand, all this other stuff, right? So, I got all the information, everything, but Simon has a ton of these things to draw to, and Daniel's hand is not particularly good for what it's worth. There's a lot of lands over there, Sylvan Safekeeper, Delighted Halfling, and is pretty far away from the combo right now as Daniel. So if you're Simon, you're going to make a Construct token. You can actually do some attacking, but any draw step can win the game right away.
Yeah, honestly, big advantage still to Simon in this situation.
Absolutely.
Where he mulled to 5, kept an amazing 5. Like,
Yes.
just an absolutely amazing 5. And Daniel just kept a 7 on the power of thought seizes and maybe got a little punished for not taking the line of leave Nadu in hand. And oh my God. You see what I just saw there, Cedric?
Yeah, it's not my first rodeo here, Corey.
Oh my. It might not be Simon's first visit to the finals here.
No. So Simon is just trying to figure out exactly how to navigate this turn here, which might be float mana off the Ursa Saga. Now, again, it's very easy for us here in the booth and you fine folks at home to say, hey, you just cast Nadu and win the game. But you also have an opponent here who has 3 cards in hand and also has a mana available. Mana available can mean dismember, among other things. So the turn is not as simple when you're not working with perfect information.
Yeah.
Simon, I imagine will probably go for it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's much of a reason not to.
The only reason is that, there's only 4 mana sources right now. If there was a Bowmaster to clear out Noble Hierarch and you have the Dismember, sure. But as it looked, Cedric, it's going to be another Handshake versus CFB finals.
Mm-hmm.
Just impressive what those two teams have been doing here over the course of the last 2-3 years.
It has been very, very, very impressive, as you mentioned, Corey. Team Handshake and Team Channel Fireball have been very dominant here on the pro circuit, and we'll have to see which one of them is going to move forward to the trophy. But here's what we do know. Unless something goes really wrong here for Simon Nielsen, he is moving on, and things are going right so far as we're going to put these creatures on the Shuko wave. So that's a Spring Heart Nantuko, and that is a victory for Simon Nielsen, your reigning and defending player of the year. He wins this match 3-2 over Daniel Goetschel, and for Team Handshake, it's another finals appearance.
Another finals appearance, and Team Handshake did fall to Seth Manfield here in this last Pioneer Pro Tour a couple Pro Tours ago. So looks like Simon is going to be going for a little bit of redemption here in the finals. I cannot wait to watch it.
That is the truth. Simon Nielsen, our reigning player of the year, is hanging out with Ailey Lonely right now. Simon, do some celebrating, my friend.
Simon Nielsen, you are one step closer to becoming Pro Tour champion. That match went pretty much exactly how you'd want it to.
I knew I was going to be underplaying game 1 against Daniel, and in the mirror, being underplay has a pretty big advantage. So ideally, what happens is that we just trade games with the player, and the player wins, and that's what happened. It's a little scary because sometimes you might stumble. If you play on the draw wins, all of a sudden the tide shifts, and then it's really then you actually have to win on the draw yourself. But that didn't happen, and I top-decked the Summoners Pact at the end to win.
Unbelievable stuff, Simon. You have one more player to get through. How are you feeling about another Bant Nadu matchup against Sam Pardee?
So both Sam and Daniel beat me in the Swiss. They were the 2 of the Nadu players to beat me. But I'm also going to be in the play against Sam, so that definitely has some advantage. Sam's list is still pretty tight for the mirror. Main deck Storm Drake, etc. He's an excellent Court of Calling player. Player in general, excellent player in general, but especially with these creature combo decks. So it's very scary.
Well, Simon, we expect a finals for the ages here. Best of luck. May the best man be left standing.
The semifinals are done here in Amsterdam. We had over 200 players join us for this Pro Tour. We're down to 2. Soon, it's just 1. News desk and the finals right after this.